Webinar 11, Analysis and Communication. The outcomes behind this module is to enable students to understand what is AR and VR, and then we're going to look at Sefaira, which is a sustainable environmental program. So first of all, the objects of VR is to understand what the origins are, to explain how virtual reality works, and to demonstrate the benefits. If we look at the history as to how it evolved, we could say that we were using the biomat tapestries back in the 1100s. But obviously the important thing is really from 1920 onwards, where early flight simulators were created. This was developed for the first mainstream attempts back in 1950. And then in the 1960s, the first head-mounted displays started to emerge. But it didn't really become a real thing until the 1980s. And then that was evolving into VR and gaming in the 1990s. And finally, the rapid development started very much from 2000. So why do we use it? Well, we have the virtual building concept, where no longer are we relying upon 2D illustrations to communicate our ideas. So now we can actually take our models, we provide the facility for the models to be explored both externally and internally as a way of communicating information. So in this real time of collaboration, what do we need? Obviously we need the BIM cloud, but more importantly what we require is a team. So that team could consist of the designers, it consists of the engineers, the client. And so what happens is no longer do we need to work in our independent cells, we can work in a group from anywhere around the world. So how's this working? Well, we have various options of how we can communicate. So the simple one is the Google Cardboard box. There are good elements behind it, so it can be easily branded, easy to share. It's ideal for clients. The downside, however, is that it requires a smartphone. There's no audio, and it's cheap. It's an entry level. Stepping up a gear, we have e.g. Gear VR. These cost around about £150. The good element behind is that they are lightweight. They are easy to use. We do have a wide angle view, but the bad side is that it's still relying upon smartphones for the ability. More sophisticated versions are the headsets where we have built-in audio, we have high quality images, and it's easy interactive. But the situation is it is tethered to a PC, so it's not so flexible, and it only works on a PC. So what do we mean by QuickTime VR? Well, literally what it is, it's a type of interactive movie that supports QuickTime file format. And we have two types. We have the panoramas, where we have a single view and the environment is actually revolving around us. And the other option is where we have movement, so the camera moves around the object, so you can do fly-throughs, you can go in and out of the buildings. So VR reality, it is an environment that is simulated by a computer. It's mostly virtual for environments where the idea is to communicate. But it gives us this freedom. We can actually explore the building. We can actually create animations. So it helps us with our modeling, workflow, and for our scenes. More sophisticated developments is where we can take our model and we can now start creating sun studies. by setting up our settings and moving around, we can actually simulate the daylight so that we can check out how our model is setting up regarding how light penetrates the building, and not only that, is how the building actually impacts against the neighboring properties. So just to round up, that VR, the viewers, is a way of communicating. We can use a QR code to sync our model with the VR viewer. And then finally is just to talk about BIMX. BIMX is a product developed by Graphisoft. Before we move on to part 2, I've included the information from Vimeo videos which have been created by Carbon Dynamic. The principle behind each of the video will illustrate the process that they had incorporated in order to try to create their offsite. So Sefaira. Sefaira is an application that works with SketchUp. It also works with Revit. The principle behind Sefaira is to enable us to make building performance analysis, so we can make smart decisions from the early stages of our design right the way through to completion. So we can analyze the energy, we can analyze the daylight, and we can analyze the thermal comfort. So the whole principle behind analyzing is that we need to simulate early and we need to analyze often. And so the study enables us to make decisions of the alternatives available to us. So Sefaira are part of Trimble. There is a direct link to learn.sefaira.com, which takes you through the process of, first of all, how to set Sefaira up and to embed that within your SketchUp and also with Revit. So the closing slides give you the information regarding accessing Trimble, so that you have links to each of the processes we've covered in the IT section of these webinars. And finally, to close, is a video which shows simulation of using SketchUp for the offsite construction.